for lie too.
And as long as you agree with her, she's fine. And it's the same thing with y'all. If y'all don't agree with her, she is pissed. And it's time for y'all to stop letting your mother run y'all.
Steal anything.
You don't. You stole men.
Who's the man that I stole?
Tony's. You slept with them
Oh,
a few times.
What man?
You do not get to leave.
The silence came first. Not the calm kind, the kind that feels like a warning. According to people who claim they were close enough to hear the cracks forming, Tamar Braxton didn't wake up one day broken. She broke slowly, quietly, over years of things no one was supposed to question. And now, what's surfacing is being whispered as one of the darkest, most uncomfortable family implosions the industry has ever tried to look away from. Because this isn't about one argument. This isn't about one bad moment caught on camera. This is about control that dressed itself up as love, pressure that wore the mask of protection, and a truth tamer allegedly buried just to survive. Sources say the pain didn't explode, it accumulated. Every correction, every shutdown, every time Tamar's voice was dismissed, redirected, or overwritten for her own good. And when the dam finally cracked, what spilled out wasn't anger, it was exhaustion. The kind that comes from carrying a weight so long you forget what it feels like to stand up straight. Now, leaked audio, alleged private confrontations, and whispered insider messages are forcing fans to rewatch years of footage with brand new eyes. Moments once called dramatic suddenly feel like warning signs. Laughter sounds forced. Smiles look rehearsed. Silence looks strategic. At the center of it all stands Evelyn Braxton, praised, protected, and now quietly questioned. Not accused of one act, but of a pattern. A pattern Tamar claims lasted for years. And here's the chilling part. The damage, insiders say, was done while everyone believed it was love. The internet is already splitting. Defenses are hardening. Old wounds are reopening. And the most dangerous thing of all has already happened. Tamar finally spoke. Because once a truth like this is named, there's no going back. The tension didn't erupt. It leaked. Slowly, quietly. The kind of leak that stains everything before anyone realizes the damage is permanent. According to people who claim they watched it happen in real time. Tamar Braxton didn't suddenly turn difficult or emotional. She became exhausted. And exhaustion, when ignored long enough, turns into something far more dangerous. Insiders say the cracks began years ago, long before the cameras, long before the social media debates, long before fans started choosing sides. What's unfolding now is being described as the aftermath of a dynamic that never truly loosened its grip. A relationship where love and authority blurred, till resistance felt like rebellion, and silence felt like survival. Whispers started circulating after. Tamar allegedly confided in close friends that she felt managed rather than supported. Not once, not briefly, for years. She reportedly said the hardest part wasn't being corrected. It was being corrected constantly, in ways so normalized that questioning them felt ungrateful. Sources claim guidance came with expectations, and expectations came with consequences. The message was subtle but consistent. Align or pay for it emotionally. Tamar's personality didn't fit neatly into that structure. She was expressive, reactive, loud with her feelings. Traits that were praised on stage but punished at home. Each pushback was reportedly met not with conversation, but with correction. Not always loud, sometimes colder, and cold lasts longer. Then came the alleged recordings. Not polished, not dramatic, raw. In one clip, making the rounds privately, a voice identified by insiders as Tamar's breaks mid-sentence. As long as you agree with her, she's fine, she says. But if you don't, she's pissed. Another voice interrupts, sharp, dismissive. Accusations fly. Old grievances resurface. You stole men. Tamar fires back, stunned. Who? Which man? The exchange spirals. Overlapping voices, unresolved history spilling out in fragments. No clear winner, just damage. People who claim to have heard the full audio say it wasn't shocking because of what was said, but because of how familiar it sounded, like a fight that had been rehearsed too many times. What unsettled fans most wasn't the argument. It was the realization that this pattern may have shaped everything they thought they knew about Tamar. Old interviews resurfaced. Moments once dismissed as overreactions were replayed with new context. The laughter looked tighter. The defensiveness felt earned. The breakdowns no longer seemed random. According to insiders, Tamar learned early that peace came from compliance. Praise followed obedience. Silence followed resistance. Over time, that kind of conditioning doesn't just control behavior. It reshapes identity. You stop asking what you feel and start asking what's allowed. Evelyn. Braxton's role in this story is where everything becomes volatile. Supporters insist she was doing what she believed was right, protecting, guiding, holding the family together. Critics argue that impact doesn't disappear just because intent was good. Tamar reportedly never accused her mother of cruelty. She described outcomes, how protection became pressure, how advice felt like judgment, how love arrived with rules she couldn't follow without shrinking herself. That distinction matters because it's where the story stops being about villains and starts being about systems. Systems that reward endurance over honesty and call it strength. Social media didn't know what to do with that nuance. Twitter exploded anyway. One side accused Tamar of rewriting history. Another accused the family of emotional control. Viral clips spread without context. Hashtags trended. Fan accounts dissected body language from footage filmed a decade ago. Every pause, every side glance suddenly meant something new. Meanwhile, Evelyn Braxton said nothing publicly. That silence became its own headline. Some called it strategic. Others called it dismissive. Insiders claim it was neither. They say the family realized any immediate response would reduce a complex history to a soundbite. And once that happens, no one listens anymore. Behind the scenes, Tamar reportedly unraveled in ways the public never saw. Friends say speaking out didn't bring relief. It brought fear. Fear of being misunderstood. Fear of being invalidated again. Fear that naming the pain would cost her the last pieces of connection she still had. That's the risk of telling the truth after years of silence. You don't know who survives it with you. Alleged private messages from people close to Tamar paint a picture of someone second-guessing herself even after speaking. "Maybe I said too much," one text reportedly read. Another allegedly said, "I just want them to hear me, not fight me. I want them to hear me, not fight me." Here's where the story twists again. Sources suggest Evelyn did hear her. Not defensively, not publicly, quietly. And that may be the most destabilizing part of all. Because silence, this time, wasn't denial. It was processing. Decades of motherhood, sacrifice, and authority don't collapse neatly into a single response. Acknowledging impact means sitting with the possibility that something done out of love still caused harm. That's not a conversation anyone rushes. And in a culture addicted to instant reactions, that pause felt unsettling. The fallout didn't explode. It settled. Family communication reportedly slowed. Not slammed doors. Fewer calls. Longer gaps. The kind of distance that happens when everyone realizes the rules have changed, but no one knows what replaces them. Fans noticed the shift. Tamar stopped explaining herself. She didn't escalate. She didn't soften her words either. According to insiders, that was intentional. Repeating pain publicly doesn't heal it. It hardens it. She had already crossed the hardest threshold. Believing her experience mattered. Online, the conversation matured in unexpected ways. Comment sections filled with personal stories. People talked about growing up under strict care, about confusing control with love, about learning boundaries too late. Tamar's story stopped feeling like celebrity gossip and started feeling uncomfortably familiar. That's when the narrative changed. This wasn't about choosing sides anymore. It was about recognizing patterns, about understanding that harm doesn't need malice to exist. What lingers now is grief. Not loud, quiet. Grief for the childhood Tamar wished she'd had. Grief for the version of family unity that depended on silence. Grief for the years spent doubting her own reactions because they were inconvenient. And grief doesn't demand villains. It demands acknowledgement. Insiders say that's where everything stands. Not resolved. Not repaired. Just exposed. And exposure changes relationships forever. The most chilling realization is this. There was no counter-narrative strong enough to erase Tamar's experience. No denial that fully neutralized it. No apology that magically fixed it. The story stalled in unresolved truth. And that unresolved truth is the cliffhanger. Because once a grown child names long-term emotional harm, the family can't return to normal. It has to decide what the new normal looks like. More distance or real boundaries. More silence or harder conversations. Love that stays the same or love that evolves. This isn't a story with a clean ending. It doesn't fade out on reconciliation or collapse. It lingers in possibility, in discomfort, in the terrifying idea that love can be genuine and still wound, that protection can suffocate, and that silence can feel safer than honesty until honesty becomes unavoidable. Tamar didn't ask to punish anyone. She asked to be believed. And belief doesn't require agreement. It requires listening. That's where everything pauses. Not on a scream. On a question? Can acknowledgement exist without defensiveness? Can family loyalty survive when silence is no longer the price of belonging? And what happens when the truth finally speaks louder than the rules that kept it buried do not click away yet? What you just heard isn't the kind of story you consume and forget. It's the kind that follows you, because whether you want to admit it or not, something in this hit close to home. This wasn't just celebrity drama. This was a mirror, a reminder of how power hides inside love, how silence gets rewarded, and how people learn to survive by shrinking themselves. And if this story made you uncomfortable, that's exactly why it matters. Right now, this conversation is still unfolding. Details are still surfacing. Reactions are still shifting. And the people who leave now will miss the moment when everything finally changes. Don't be one of them. Hit like if you believe emotional truth deserves space, even when it's messy. Drop a comment if you've ever been told someone was just trying to help while you felt yourself disappearing. Your voice matters here more than you think. Subscribe now and turn on notifications, because the next story will dig even deeper into the secrets people are afraid to name. This channel isn't here to protect comfort. It's here to expose patterns, break silence, and ask the questions nobody wants to answer out loud. Miss the next upload, and you'll miss the truth while everyone else is already talking about it. Stay, engage, speak. This story doesn't end without you. This story doesn't end without you.